So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the third in a three-part series talking about the Montreal Canadiens' big three of the 1970s and into the 1980s. Now, we already talked about Pointu, Guy Lapointe, and the Senator Serge Savard, but the third and biggest of the big three was Big Bird himself, Larry Robinson. Now, Robinson was a massive presence on the ice, 6'4", 225 pounds. Although he went on to great success in his coaching career, including with the Devils and the Kings, but we're going to talk about his NHL play specifically with the Canadiens. Now, he was inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1995, the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame in 2014, and in 2017 he was named one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history. Now, Robinson's presence on the ice had more to do with being a kind of a policeman for some of the faster and more goal-scoring players on the team, including Schott, Lemaire, Lafleur, Mahovlich. Robinson would basically, help the young players along. He would help protect the older players, and he wasn't basically a fighter, but he was someone that really had a major presence on the ice. And as he went from kind of a stay-at-home defensive presence to a heavy goal scorer and point producer, he would score between 10 and 19 goals a game, always get 65, 70, 80 points. Very strong in the playoffs as well. He could play the offensive game to the defensive game whenever he could. Now, Robinson started his career in elite hockey with a junior A stint with the Brockville Braves of the CJHL and the elite juniors, AAA, with the Kitchener Rangers. Now, we spent 2 seasons with the Nova Scotia Voyageurs of the American Hockey League before making it to the NHL with the Habs in 1973. Now, his mobility would really stood out, and he won the James Norris Memorial Trophy twice in 77 and 1980 as the league's most outstanding defenseman, and he also won the Conn Smythe Trophy, mimicking Serge Savard's previous victory by being the MVP of the 78 playoffs. He was named to the league's first All-Star game team 3 times and the second All-Star team twice. The third time was controversial. He was on the list, taken off and put it on again, but we'll give him 6. His peak years, of course, were 77 to 81. He did have a strong comeback season at 34 and 86 when Montreal won the Cup, but he was a dominant player with Montreal for 15 years, and the 6 Stanley Cups he was part of, including the important runs in 79 and 86, where he really stood out. Now, Robinson's big recognition came when he played the Flyers, specifically in the 76 final. His big hit on Gary Dornhofer, which almost put Dornhofer through the boards at the Forum, stands out as one of the biggest hits of all time. And even though he was too young to play with Summit Series in 72, he was again part of that great Team Canada in 76 at the Canada Cup, again considered one of the best teams of all time, and the 81 and 84 Canada Cup tournaments. And he was also an international All-Star team selection at the 1981 World Championships. Now, during his career, he played in 10 of the league's All-Star games, and he ended his career with 208 goals, 750 assists, and 958 regular season points, and including 144 in the regular season. In the playoffs. Now, he spent 3 years with the Kings after leaving Montreal as part of the Gretzky years. And he came during his time with the Kings, he came close to winning the Cup, but a little bit too far. Now, get this: he holds an impressive career plus-minus rating of +730. That's an NHL career record, and he was +120 in his 76-77 season. To get this, ladies and gentlemen, that Montreal team in 77 almost scored 400 goals, but he was on the ice for the majority of the key goals that season. And considering he was playing 27 minutes a game, for the time he was on the ice, he was almost worth literally he was part of 2 or 3 goals per game. Only Bobby Orr's +124 in 70-71 bet it, and he's only one of 2 players to have that plus-minus rating of the Golden plus 100. And he played in 20 straight playoffs, by the way, 17 with the Habs, and that ties him with Nicholas Lidstrom. So he's a money player. Now, because of his coaching career, Robinson's name appears on the Stanley Cup 9 times, including several with the Devils as a player, coach, and scout in different categories. Now, following his retirement, of course, he became assistant coach with the Devils in '93, helped the Devils win the Stanley Cup in '95, and he became head coach of the Kings later on. And after he left the Los Angeles team after the '99 season, he signed on as assistant coach with the Devils again, became interim coach in 2000, then led the Devils to the Cup that year. And it was the type of career that led him to coaching. But I think why Robson stands out is because when you see Robson headman to puck like Lapointe, it was a little bit different, even like Savard. He had a style on the ice. He had a kind of a figure skating with a kind of a speed skating style because he was so big and he was always kept the puck in front of him. He was never out of position for too long. Although he made kind of PK Subban mistakes on occasions, he would never repeat that same mistake. Now he's also has a great love for horses. He became part of the thoroughbred scene with Kings owner Bruce McNall, and he sponsored and followed various horses over the years. And he's a very diverse guy, very well read, very intelligent. He's not done much NHL commentating, but he's been so busy as a player. But you got to consider this: he's in his 4th decade in the sport, and he's one of the most respected coaches and players that still give back to the game. Now, with the Canada Cup situation, again, Savard, Robinson, Lapointe on the Canada Cup team. That ranks again as the best defensive group that Canada's ever put together, because Oren Potvin was on some there. But for a lot of people who have not seen the Big Three in action, try go on YouTube, see the '79 Game 7 against Boston in the semifinals. Look at Game 5 in '79 against the Rangers at home. Look at Robinson in the Flyers series in '76. He's doing everything on the ice at the same time, and he's anticipating the play probably more than he's given credit for. He made fun of his defensive game because he was kind of awkward, but to me Robinson was just as good on defense as he was on offense, because he wasn't scared to block a shot, wasn't scared to take the rough play, wasn't scared to stand up against the goons from the other squads. Because there was a time, ladies and gentlemen, that Montreal could do the goon game, but there were the Flying Frenchmen as well. And he wasn't French, but his French wasn't too bad actually. He even learned how to speak French when he was in Montreal, so he endeared himself to French-speaking Canadians and English-speaking Canadians. And for a lot of people, Big Bird, who was named, of course, after a Sesame Street character, Big Bird ranks as their favorite and best defenseman of the Big Three. It's an argument as to who's the best of the Big Three. Certain nights it'd be Lapointe, certain nights it'd be Savard, certain nights it'd be Robinson, but the quality is there. That's a combination of almost 30 Stanley Cups between them, and let me tell you, it's well deserved. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last in the 3-part series on the Big Three. Please give a like, subscribe, or comment. If you like my podcast series, please tell your friends, and if you don't like it, well, keep it yourself and don't tell nobody. Say like Bayview Drive-In, if you don't like my podcast, why are you listening? But thanks for the hit, as we say. Have a good one. Bye.